sync up or something?
Yeah, this is just uploading it so that it's live to the web.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, publish. All right.
Yeah.
You're all
All
set.
right, thanks.
Go ahead, Dan, just kick it off.
We wanted to take a moment to thank everybody for coming today. We appreciate all of you being here. And, you know, with my mom's passing and the recent loss of my father, we're reminded that life is just too short. Especially as we, all get older, it seems like the days just fly by, and man, it happens quick. And there really, should be a reason other than weddings and funerals to gather together to share life's moments and experience the joys of life. We often forget that. My mom progressively and silently faded away over the past couple of years. Before the onset of her condition, she was full of life. All of us knew her, how wild she could be and how fun she could be. And these fun experiences, happy memories that we shared with her, we'll carry with us forever, I hope, just as a reminder. I knew my brothers and I drove my mom crazy when we were children, but I never thought we'd drive her to the condition of Alzheimer's. Raising 3 hellion boys as we were, well, Mike was pretty good. He was an angel, of course. Especially myself certainly took a toll on her, but yeah. In fact, for decades, my family teased her about being Polish, and my dad had plenty of Polish jokes. But as it turned out, about 5 or 6 years ago, they did one of those genetic tests and found out that she was probably 75% Irish. And I think we felt kind of guilty after that. There's a lot of memories we can all go on about, but I'm just going to state a couple of them. I'm going to be pretty quick here today. She supported us boys, all the activities and interests that we had, and they were varied. She always seemed to take the time to go to the long sporting events, like my swim meets took 4 or 5 hours. My dad was working all the time, but she always seemed to wedge that in, and I will appreciate that. I'd look over and it was always my mom sitting there. My brothers, I don't think, went to one. I don't blame them. She took the time to do little special things. She made every birthday. She knew that I loved German chocolate cake, and so she would make that from scratch. Some things weren't so great. We 3 boys would drink 3 gallons of milk a day, a gallon of orange juice, a couple loaves of bread. We would cut through the food budget pretty quick. And we caught her often sneaking Tang, that 70s orange drink, into orange juice to make it stretch longer. And dried milk into a gallon of milk, saying, no, it's just normal milk. She loved to decorate for Christmas, and a lot of things that I remember, her taking the time to make handmade Christmas ornaments for the tree, and just her taking the time for the little special things, the moments in life that you remember. My dad certainly did that, but my mom had her own way. She had a woman's touch as a mother, and we all have them with our mom, and she was no different. I remember when I was 17, she told me something about using this special soap to clean stains out of clothes. And I thought, man, I was so stupid. You know, oh, you haven't used this Felt's naphtha soap. It'll get anything out of this jean material. And I thought, man, you're crazy. I'm not using that. So she threw a bar into my stuff to wash clothes. And I thought, like, when I was 21, several years later, I thought, man, I still had that bar of soap. I'm going to try it. And man, it took everything out. If you haven't used it, I'm a proponent of this Felt's naphtha. But it's amazed that, you know, I thought, man, at 17, I thought, man, my mom is so stupid. And at 21, I was even more amazed at how much she learned in 4 years. She created a wonderful home for me and my brothers, always, whether we were at home or camping. She just set the stage for comfort. One of the biggest things that I remember of my mom in a couple difficult situations that I was in, people would, you know, in grade school, kids would, you know, kids are kids, we berate each other, and she always told me to believe in myself. And I drew something in school in like 6th grade, and everybody was, that's the stupidest thing ever, and I came home and I was real disappointed, and she said, no, that's really good. Believe in yourself and submit it. And I did it, and I came home, I brought it home, and I worked on it a little more, and I turned it the next day. Sure enough, it got the best of everybody. And the takeaway for me was, you know, believe in yourself, because the chances are your instincts are correct, and don't let anybody take that away from you. Right now, I'm positive that my mom and my dad, through the struggle that she went through, but right now, she is somewhere in Wisconsin dancing the polka at the supper club with my dad. And they're doing that every night. And they're having a good old time, and probably tying a few back up in heaven. She reminded me to truly find the time to enjoy what we love in life and surround ourselves with supporting people. You know, I'm going to miss her. I love you, Mom. Thank you.
I think I've met just about everybody for at least a second time, but my name's Mike. I'm the oldest one. Thanks for being here to celebrate with us today. First, as I think everybody knows, we were very fortunate that we were able to keep Mom at home this past year. And there's really one person who made that happen, and that's Kim. And I know she doesn't want me talking about it. Kim's really become a part of our family. We never had a sister, but we spent a lot of time with her, and she's put up with us a lot. So Kim will be forever grateful for all the extraordinary care that you gave Mom, and there's no way I could have done the job that Kim done, and she's really been both a saint and an angel for our family. So thanks, Kim. If there was one thing that always brought an immediate smile to Mom's face, it was children, regardless if they were strangers or her own grandchildren. There was one time early in COVID where I was walking around the block, and she went up and about hugged this little kid, and I said, Mom, you can't, I was pulling her away from the young child. Kim told me the story of less than 60 days ago. The other caregiver, Hannah, who you might have seen here, just left, brought her 7-year-old child, and that brightened my mom's face up probably the most in the last 60 days of her life. She just loved children all the time. And for Pat, Dan, and I, and all the grandchildren, we were the fortunate benefactors of all that love in all the years that we were growing up. And she showed her love in so many different ways. When I was around 11 years old, Mom all of a sudden decided that she needed to teach a whole bunch of essential and critical life skills like cleaning toilets, scouring sinks, scrubbing dishes, doing laundry, and cooking. I certainly haven't mastered all of these, but Mom's persistent effort to teach us these basic life skills provided us all with a great foundation in our adult lives. Mom also mastered giving and patience. She was always one to help family and friends, as Father mentioned in Mass, with whatever they had going on. And when I just got out of college, I was living in Pennsylvania and had an unexpected health issue. Mom flew out to be with me, and after the surgery I had, she spent multiple days in the hospital room, never having left the hospital until our dad arrived to relieve her many days later. Mom was also extremely positive. When we'd start to complain or say something bad when we were young, she would quickly pipe in and say, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. She was also very easygoing, and things that typically bothered others never seemed to bother Mom or faze her in any way. When I was at Iowa State as a student, some friends and I think it was my senior year, we went to Big Creek State Park in the afternoon for a swim with about 3 carloads of people. And it was 4 o'clock, and we were all hungry, and I said, well, hey, we're halfway to my parents' house, let's go for dinner. So we probably had a dozen of us. Mom had no idea about this. And I can remember one of my friends questioning, are you sure this is a good idea? So we walked into the house. Mom was excited to see all of us, welcomed us with a big smile, and immediately proceeded without hesitation to make a bunch of burgers for all of us on the grill. When we returned to Ames, my friends not only were impressed with their dinner, but they were in disbelief that she didn't hesitate to put the dinner together for all of us with no advance warning at all. Pretty amazing. Her easygoing approach has really taught me to navigate through many things that often seem to frustrate others in life. Sometimes Mom's easygoing nature interrupted with her sense of timeliness. Unlike today when we all have, a clock on our wrist, a clock on our hip, or wherever, we sort of had one clock we went by in our house. It was right above the kitchen table. And Mom suddenly had this great idea that if she moved the clock ahead 5, 8, 10 minutes, she never knew how much, she wouldn't be late for anything. Well, our dad saw this differently. Drove him nuts, so he would always move it back to the right time. So when we were going to school in the morning, we never really knew what time it was and if we were going to be late for school or not. She also taught us the importance of apologizing. For just a few years, we had a peculiar neighbor in Urbandale. I think it might have been the neighbors before the Randolphs, who are here in the back. And just unusual, peculiar people. And never came outside, never really did anything. And I was about 12 years old, and lost my place here. And so my friends and I, we were playing a lot of baseball in the backyard that spring. And occasionally we'd hit the ball over the wooden fence into the neighbor's backyard. And that neighbor on this particular Memorial Day weekend had this epiphany that he was going to re-landscape his backyard. And so we were playing, and all of a sudden somebody hit a ball over, and we did it. About the third time, he just came over with a lot of emotion and said, I want you guys to stop playing baseball. Well, I was a 12-year-old kid, and I thought, well, this is my yard. I can do whatever I want. Well, a few minutes later, it was my turn to bat. I hit the ball, connected with it. This guy was about 6'5", so we could see him over our 5-foot wood fence, just sort of his head. Went right over the fence and hit him right in the head. We ran like crazy. We hid behind the Grunswig's house on the east side of their house that are also at that back table. And my dad was fishing in Canada with some friends, and the guy was really rude, and he came over and yelled and screamed at my mom and wasn't very nice about the whole thing, and my mom had to live with that for the whole week. Anyway, I was grounded immediately for a number of days. I don't remember how many. And my mom said, well, you're going to go over and apologize. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. Well, long story short, she marched me over there, sat beside me, tears rolling down my face. I had to look him in the eyes. I just couldn't apologize. And apologize. And I did that, and I learned how to apologize after that. It's no secret that Mom was not shy about speaking her mind openly and candidly, including regular requests to those around her. Dad was frequently the recipient of these requests. When we found out about 5 or so weeks ago that Mom was going to be in hospice, I started to call relatives and good friends on my drive back to Illinois that Sunday afternoon. And I called a good friend of theirs, and most people would say, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And this particular friend, who's got a pretty good sense of humor, said, he immediately responded with, your dad's mom gave a lot to the people in her life that touched so many of us that are with us here today. Like Dan mentioned, her dementia in recent years really impacted who she really was. In the past 12 days since she's passed away, it's really allowed me to go back and just bring back many great memories of all those many gifts that she's given, not only our family, but I think most all of us here today. So, thanks. And I'm sure there's a few others that may want to say a few words. Come on up and share it now, if you'd like to do that. The mic is on, and then the camera. Stay fairly close.
Okay. All right, my name is Darlene Schwant, and Cal and I have been friends with Paul and Karen for 25 years. Paul and Karen were the first people that Cal and I met when we moved to Clive from Illinois in 1997. Karen and I developed a relationship almost immediately. We had similar interests, we walked together, ate out together, and complained about our husbands frequently. Not sure if Karen was a garage sailor before I met her, but we would go to garage sales almost weekly. She wanted to get home before Paul did so that she could hide everything. A lot of the stuff you are having to get rid of now is probably stuff Karen bought when we went garage sailing. Karen had a big heart and showed us many times by holding neighborhood events in her home. Karen also wanted people to know each other as neighbors and compiled a list of addresses and phone numbers for all the neighbors to use. Karen was also an active participant in a group of close-knit friends getting together to play cards. After Cal's mom passed away, Karen bought over $50 of bedding plants in remembrance of Cal, knowing how much he liked plants. She also loved coming to visit my mom when she lived with us. And they even brought a meal over and ate with her when Cal and I were out of town. And she laughed about that a lot. She laughed about how spunky my mom was. My mom came to live with us at 98, and so Karen was there a lot, and she was really good with her and conversed with her, so I remember that memory. Karen was very family-oriented, not only with her family, but our family as well. We had many gatherings at each other's houses when the children came home to visit, and she would always bring gifts for our grandchildren when they were there. Karen was a very loving, faithful friend that I will truly miss.
This will be short and sweet. So I grew up next to the VanTreecks, and everything they said about her being a mom is true, and she was just a second mom to me, which I appreciate. And then once again, just want to appreciate Kim and everything that she has done and who you are in terms of taking care of Karen. So it's a special gift you have you were sharing, and we all appreciate that very much.
Anybody else? Yeah, well, thanks everybody for coming, and yeah, and please, if anybody wants food or has a good place for that food to go, please take it with you. Really appreciate everybody being here and helping us celebrate today with our moms. Thanks.